In this episode, we're going to diverge from the normal episodic format. In this video, we're going to diverge from the normal episodic format whilst we take a look at one of the more expensive and arguably critical parts of any engine conversion, and that is the driveshafts. Oh, hey, it's me editing this very video that you're watching right now. Now, some of you may know I use my mobile phone to record all of the footage you see on my channel. And up until now, that's actually been working relatively okay, despite the inherent drawbacks of using your daily driver mobile phone for recording this sort of footage. That was until I noticed that when I came back and reviewed this footage, that there was some pretty horrible background noise coming through on every single recording. What I later found out is that a recent update to Android 14, at least on the Google Pixel devices, which is what I'm using right now, has caused some pretty horrible, like high frequency noises that come from things like fluorescent lights to appear in the audio recordings. So I'm actually able to remove nearly all of the noise, but then my voice sounds really muffled and horrible. It's like it sounds like I'm underwater or something. So I've actually left it in some places. So if you hear this noise, that's what that is. There's not much I can really do about it. I'm really sorry. I realise it's not in keeping with the usual standard of filmmaking that I like to convey in all of my videos. So I hope that you'll be patient, and I hope that it will be fixed by the time the next video comes out. Anyway, back to the video. Alright, so this is one of those sections where the audio came out absolutely dreadfully, so I'm going to record a little bit of voiceover. Also, I went on for an absolute age talking about all of this stuff, so this just allows me to condense it down to the stuff you actually want to hear. So, drive shafts. 3 parts, 2 CV joints and a hardened steel shaft with splines connecting the two together. CV stands for constant velocity, and they're called that because they allow the rotational motion from the gearbox to make its way to the wheels without binding up like universal joints would. You'll come across a few types of CV joint on front wheel drive cars, but the most common you're going to find is the tripod joint and the Jepper joint. The tripod is normally found on the gearbox side and is a fairly simple setup. It's just 3 bearings in a triangle shape and they ride inside a cup. They have a limited range of angle, but the trade-off is that they can plunge in and out when the suspension moves up and down, which is quite important. The Jepper joint on the other hand is a lot more complicated. You've got a couple of bearings inside, there's actually 6 in this one. Typically these are not serviceable and they don't plunge, but you can achieve a much greater angle than a tripod joint. And that's the reason why you'll find these on the outer CVs, because the angles that these need to achieve is much greater because of steering angle. There is a bit of an exception here. The Micra's inner CV uses a Jepper joint, which can plunge on the passenger side. And I think they might have done this because on the passenger side the shaft is quite a lot shorter, and if you know your trigonometry you'll know that the shorter the shaft is, the more of the angle it has to take for the same amount of suspension travel. So I'm guessing they used that because they needed to achieve a much better angle, but they still needed to plunge because the distance between the hub and the gearbox does change as the suspension goes up and down. At any rate, they are packed with CV grease and then covered in a protective rubber boot, and that keeps all the grease in, but it also keeps the dirt and all the water out. Now what I'm going to be doing here is keeping the outboard CVs from the Micra, and I'm going to be changing the inboard CV, and I'm going to be keeping the Micra's drive shaft on both sides. Now the reason I'm going to be doing that is because it's much easier to adapt the tripod bearing from the Audi to fit the Micra shaft than it is to adapt the Audi shaft to fit the outboard CVs of the Micra. Also, when I measured the thickness of both the shafts using calipers, taking a measurement from the thinnest points on both of the shafts, I found that there was only about a millimeter difference in thickness. So it made a lot more sense to just use the complete shaft from the Micra than it did to try and sort of cut and weld 2 different shafts from 2 different cars together. Right, so that there is the Volkswagen spider joint, tripod bearing, and then that is the end of the Micra long shaft, right? So the splines are different, but the diameter is pretty much the same. Like, they won't quite go on, but if you look there,
it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. God, can you imagine if it fit?
Well, I have a way of making it fit. Something tells me that's not working.
Now it won't come off. The whole shaft is just moving down the vise.
It's getting there. Bit more, I think.
An impact socket.
I am using an impact socket. It's a socket that's going to be impacted. Can you just roughly keep that in?
You want me to put my hand there? Are you sitting?
Do you have a better idea?
Ah.
Okay, you know what? You're a pansy, so I'll just do it myself. I don't think that's going to move down any further. It's actually damaging the socket, so... I mean, it's only... I would say, whatever measurements you make, take into account that that's not correct.
Yeah, what's that, about 5 mil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take 5 mil off the final size. It's concentric.
At least it's concentric.
Do not install your drive shaft like this. Beautiful.
Are we in?
Yeah. Nice shaft, sir.
Okay.
Would you? I would laugh if this just fits. I know it's not going to, but I would laugh if it just fits.
It might fit. So what we want to do is make sure that when the shaft is in, it's not up against the end, up against the inside like that. Otherwise, every time, like, if you imagine the shaft like this, it's going to be about midway through. But when it gets to the midpoint, like when you're at normal ride height, this plunges in further. You don't want it to plunge in too far, otherwise every time you go over a bump, you're going to be smashing the inside of that. You don't want that going on constantly. So what we're going to do is make sure that that's not happening, is I'm going to put this at a kind of point where I would consider it to be quite safe, and then I'm going to put some tape on the shaft, and then I can visually see that if the tape disappears inside of this cup, then it's gone too far. So that's the max, so we'll add a little bit so that we're not, so I'd say about there. When the shaft is in situ, if that tape goes any further than the edge of here, then you know it's gone too far. We'll get that side in first. Right, that's in. So now I can get this.
No way does that fit.
It's too short. Suspension's at full droop. Let's bolt it in. God, can you imagine if it's too short? That would suck. You can come in. Yeah, I'm in. I need that to move. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Yeah, there it is. Right, so that's in.
It's alright, there's just a ton of crap down here.
There we go. That's one. The second.
Unfortunately, it does look like you're already inside of the cup. So you need to cut this down.
Oh, have I actually overextended it?
It's no, as in it's gone in towards the cup.
Yeah.
So yeah, you will need to take at least maybe another inch, maybe an inch off of this side.
Ah. Right, so we got the shaft in the car, but we had a little bit of trouble getting everything to snug up properly, and that was because this was all the way in. So that's the reason why we have this tape. So it did its job really well. So what that tells us is, based on how much it was plunged in by, we need to move, I would say, about 2 centimeters, just to be safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut here. I'm going to make another cut 2 centimeters up, and I'm going to join them together again. For the purpose of a prototype shaft, this is absolutely fine. Not going to be putting any power through these. Not that I could anyway, because we smacked this on, so it's not actually going to stay together very well anyway. So let's get the angle grinder out, and then we'll weld this back together again, but about 2 centimeters shorter. Oh, the shaft is too hot. There we go. Hello. It doesn't reach.
Have you made it too short now?
Would you be able to like push the hub? That's it.
You know, if we were proper YouTubers, we'd actually put a light underneath here.
Aziz, light!
Thank you, Aziz.
Shout out to Aziz, by the way. He was just doing his job and he got caught up in all that crap. I'm putting a lot of trust in my engine mounts. Like, if it falls right now...
Well, if it makes you feel any better, engineers of arches, when the final stone was being put into place, they would stand underneath their arch because they had to have that much faith in it.
Huh.
Oh, hold on a second.
Oh, you're uncomfortable there, mate? Oh, you know what? This doesn't... This looks like it could be too short. This way.
Will someone pull droop?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Oh yeah, that would have taken the slack quite nicely. Oh, can you imagine if the audio was terrible on this? After all of this, recording.
Well, do you know what's be more ironic?
What?
It's the fact that the audio is terrible and you brought up your lav mic.
Yep.
But you're not going to do that now, Pixel, are you?
No. The audio is going to be absolutely fine. There's going to be no interference noises or crackling or anything. Right, drive shaft in. Let's see where everything is. Fine.
I'm going to cause you a lot of pain when I do that big video cut down through.
There we go. So that's at full droop, and the bearings are like not even poking through. Is that even in focus? It's not, is it? Now it's in focus. Yeah, so that's at full droop. Right. Assistant, can you please...
Way ahead of you.
Already doing it for me. Okay. Right, so he's going to just jack the hub up, and because we don't have the springs in, we can do that without lifting the car up. And we'll get to see. So that's at like ride height, maybe just a little bit more than ride height. I can't tell. So yeah, I could probably do with maybe adding another centimetre to the length, and I think that would probably be okay. Right, I'm getting out from under here before I get crushed. There we go. She's in. The shaft has entered.
Okay. I should be able to just... If the steering...
It's because the roll bar is getting in the way. It's good there's no steering lock, isn't it?
Yeah, well...
Yeah, so it is definitely too long, isn't it?
I think it is, but... Yeah.
Do you know what I think the thing to do is to actually put that in first and then attach it on the other side?
Yeah, well now it's in there, we can at least unbolt it. Is that all the way in?
Oops, sorry. Just stick the nut in and then just spin it down, that'll pull it through. Yeah, so we can't attach that back on again, even at full droop, because the shaft is stopping us from being able to do that. So the shaft is definitely too long, so it's going to need to be... And then we stick that back on. There we are. So that's now there. And then so now we just, the problem is that it's actually wanting to come out. But yeah, we need to just basically work out where the overlap is, like that.
It's almost that piece of tape.
Yeah, pretty much. But we need to actually get the hub up at ride height first.
Yeah.
So let's get the jack. I don't actually know what ride height is, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go at the point where this is the same height as the differential, and that will, even if that's not ride height, it will still be the closest that this will end up being to that. That's the plan anyway. And because we haven't got the spring in, I don't have to worry about the spring taking the weight and lifting the whole car up. Does that look about straight to you?
Relatively.
I think so. So now if we put them together like that, it is actually, well, if I plunge that in about as far as it will go minus, I don't know, like another, I'd actually say it's about the size of that tape.
So that's an inch.
Is that an inch?
An inch tape. That tape is an inch.
You sure? Seems
Yes.
a bit thinner than an inch.
It is an inch. We're both wrong.
It's 2 centimetres.
Yeah. Well, it's not even 2 centimetres. It's technically 19 centimetres. But it's actually three quarters.
3/4 of an inch. Right, today has been very productive. We have both the passenger side and the driver side shafts mocked up and ready to be remade properly. Let me just move that real quick. It's a bit of a milestone. Again, just like having the engine mounted, this is another one of those tasks that is, well, it can make or break an engine swap, I suppose. That's going to do it for this one. Not my normal format, I know, and that's just because I'm doing more than one thing at once at the moment, because I really want to get this thing on the road by summer. And if I do my normal episodic format where I do one thing and then finish it and then show you the whole episode from start to finish, you're just going to be waiting forever. So I'm kind of multitasking at the moment. I've got 2 things going on in parallel. So you kind of see the first part of the drive shafts, and then the next part will be what I'm starting, which will hopefully involve getting this engine at least turning over, starting a few preliminary exhaust things. So if you don't want to miss any of that, please make sure you subscribe. I'm just about to hit 1,000 subscribers, which is a big milestone for me. So if you have been watching all the way through, then thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.